Welcome to your 26-minute Enduro World Championship. Round 3 of the 2013 Enduro World Championship is by the sea at Puerto Lumbreras in the southeast of Spain. Famous for its trilogic houses, the city of 13,000 inhabitants has been marked by a tragic history. In 1973, it was completely devastated by a flood, and 90 people died. Today, Puerto Lumbreras, between touristic Alicante, Murcia and Almería, is calm and quiet. A village paced by the life of its markets and shops. It's also a perfect area for off-road racing, and the championship's resumption after a 7-week break. The women are back on the Enduro World Championship. It's the 4th year of competition and 4 Grand Prix are planned. Spain, Portugal, Greece and France. Last year, world champion was Laia Sainz from Spain. She also has 12 titles in the Trial World Championship, but no longer is she on a gas. Just days before the race, she changes to a private KTM. Laia is both favourite and ambassador. What I like in the Enduro is that we can race on the same tracks as the men. And I think the level has improved a lot. It's happening the same as it happened in trial. The level was low, but each time it improved. And now young girls are coming in, and I think we'll be able to do well against the men in the future. Among the outsiders, Jessica Gardner from Australia. On a Sherco, this 20-year-old is ambitious and did not take the long trip to Europe for nothing.
Tough and challenging, so for sure I liked a challenge. At the end of the day, you like to know you finished and you got to the end, and with good test times to compete with the best girls in the world.
After a retirement of 2-time world champion Ludivine Pioy, French Enduro is looking for a new leader. Could it be represented by Juliette Perez? I worked really well physically during the winter, and now it's paying off, and I'm happy for that. There are girls from all over the world, but the only rider from South Africa is Tony Jardine. She is used to a very different kind of Enduro races, but she's learning.
I'm very fast when it comes to the fast stuff, and the extreme Enduro, that's my quality, that's where I'm good at. And cornering is not my best thing, but I'm getting there.
During this first event, French woman Juliette Perez scored her first podium on the world scene. But only one woman in 3 arrived at the tech point on time. A demanding race. Brit Jane Daniels gets a 2nd place on day 1. Jessica Gardner took 2nd in round 2. But for those girls, they had nothing against Laia Sainz. More than 4 minutes on Saturday, 2.5 on Sunday. She took victory. Despite discovering a new KTM, she flew over the rest here in Spain. Let's now focus on the men's competition. No super test in Spain. It means the men are starting with no warm-up, for this is the first day of competition. There is a huge tradition of Enduro in Puerto Lumbreras. The city welcomed the first ever event of modern EWC in 2004, when French company ABC Communications became promoter of the championship. Christophe Narmatin was a young motocross rider at that time, but in 2004, winners were not strangers. Stefan Merriman, Juha Salminen and Ivan Cervantes. So 4 laps of 45 kilometres is the programme. For the Spanish Grand Prix, it's 7.5 hours of effort. The track on Rally looks like a trial circuit in some parts, and so the Spanish Grand Prix is very, very technical. It's easy to lose time and take penalties even in the liaison. here is the reward for those who pass the stony uphill section successfully. The time check. Just a second of rest before the special test begins. There are 12 time sectors, an amazing 1 hour of competition. The extreme test is the hardest portion of the Spanish track. Big uphills and thrilling downhills. Early in the day, Briton David Knight from E2 injures his finger, and it's too painful for him to continue. Therefore, he stops the Spanish Grand Prix after just one test. The leader of the championship in E1 is Antoine Mayo, and he had a hard day as well. He crashed early in the Enduro test and knocked himself out. More than 1 minute lost, he then battled back all day by pushing too much, and again he hurt his knee. Mayo must be satisfied with only 5th position at the end of the day, 34 seconds off the winner. Not such a disaster, because at the same time his rival from Husqvarna, Juha Salminen, also struggled. Like Mayo, he lost time in the very first stage, but he made the ground back up on the leaders. However, still missed out on the podium by 1.14 seconds, Salminen 4th. Competing at his home Grand Prix, Cristobal Guerrero is now nearly at 100% after this long recovery from a shoulder injury. He was back to the small engines of E1 and grabbed a 3rd position on the 250cc KTM. 2nd was Eero Remes. Beginnings with the TM factory effort in South America were discreet, but in Spain the Finn looked faster. Remes could have played for the win on the last lap, but instead misses out by just 8.36 seconds. The scenery, stunning, a great place to come and play. The winner was Husqvarna's number 2 rider, Matti Siesterla. He benefited from the mistakes of Mayo and Salminen at the start of the race and grabbed his first win since way back in 2011. Despite a comfortable gap at the start, he had to reset to 0 after a crash mid-distance.
I had after 2 laps quite comfortable lead, like 13 seconds, but then I crashed in the extra test and lost all of that. So after that it was good battle again with Eero Remes and Cristobal Guerrero, but at the end I'm really happy to win.
Leaving Parc Fermé, the leader of the championship, Antoine Mayo, limps away. However, nothing too serious. Tired, not too much, just a little bit disappointed really. Even if I finished 5th, I saved some points. To finish there, whereas I was one of the fastest, is disappointing. Two-time world champion Frenchman Johnny Aubert was 3rd of Enduro 2 class on Saturday, the 4th podium for the KTM rider this year. Aubert was consistent, but missed speed to play equal with the lead 3 of E2 in Spain. It was only thanks to a little bit of luck that he managed to make it onto that podium. There was an epic battle for the win between championship leader Alex Salvini, 4-time world champion Ivan Cervantes, and 2012 king Pierre-Alexandre René. It will certainly remain as one of the high moments of the EWC this year, the last lap decider between the 3 men. After a solid race, Pierre-Alexandre René had a 3-second gap in the lead, but under pressure he crashed on the uphill extreme test and lost 56 seconds, eliminated in the battle for the win, and in fact dropping to 4th, handing that podium to Aubert. At the start of the last test, Alex Salvini, the leader of the championship, was still pushing. But in the last test, Salvini made a mistake and lost 36 seconds, finally being beaten by his direct rival. Everything was hard. The rally was like a trial. I must thank the people that helped us. Without them, I would not have been able to pass at all. The tests at the start were beautiful when we walked it, but it became a disaster with so much dust and it was exhausting. René had a crash in one, I crashed in the last Enduro. We'll see, but tomorrow should be very hard.
E quindi vedremo, per domani sarà sicuramente molto difficile.
So, to the winner, Ivan Cervantes. Back at KTM this year after 2 seasons with Gas, the Torito once again tasted victory with the Orange Factory team. He won just 4 stages like Salvini, but was more consistent in the end when the pressure mounted. Being his home Grand Prix, friends and family saw him mount the podium. In the Enduro 3 class, Matthias Bellino returned to competition after missing the opening trip to Argentina and Chile. Back from wrist surgery and an injury to the finger, the junior world champion could do no better than 10th spot. It wasn't the only problem he had, his bike struggling. 4th, Joachim Lundgren lost important points in Spain. 2nd of the championship behind Nambuta, the Swede really struggled all day. It was only the last Enduro test where he was able to pick up a solitary test victory. 18.99 seconds faster than Lundgren was Elgar Liok. But the Estonian was suffering from 2 broken ribs after crashing in the Estonian Championship. At points he thought about stopping, but he found extra strength and managed to finish and got 15 points for 3rd spot. Manuel Moni is the only rider in E3 with less than a minute's gap to the winner. This former motocross rider, like Salvini in E2, proved that there is good shape in the Italian competition, converted into Enduro riders. But with 7 stage wins, there was only one real victor. Christophe Nambuta took it comfortably, benefiting from the bad shape of Liok and Lundgren to get an easy position in the general standings and took 7 stage wins. But despite his control, it was not such an easy win for the reigning world champion. Mentally, I'm not really that strong, and also physically I'm struggling a little bit. I can't train, so I'm missing the force on the top of my body. I did a nice race. The terrain was very hard with a lot of dust, and we're not really used to these conditions. It was such big ruts and a lot of powder sand. We had to avoid these traps, and so what I did today, I had a small crash in the extreme test, but nothing that serious. But I had good speed. And good speed enough to take yet another victory.
Essaie de me mettre du ralenti, parce qu'il faut trouver des solutions là. Non, il y a des fois c'est un coup de piston, des fois c'est pas un coup de piston. Je suis désolé, il n'y a pas de coup de piston quand tu accélères.
Coming next, there'll be a debrief between Salvini and Ivan Cervantes. But what happened in the second round? The start of day 2. Conditions cooler, which is a good thing for the riders because the track has become full of deep ruts. The terrain is that evil powder sand called fesh or guadal. Just small rocks break it up. The countryside is quite calm now, but in Puerto Libreras the competitors are ready. Winner of the day before, Matti Siestola, was 5th in round 2. He lacked speed all day long and finished 45 seconds from the winner. Fourth position was Cristobal Guerrero. It was tight, though, because Guerrero had Siestola and also Salminen in close attention. It was a tough weekend for the greatest rider of all time. Juha Salminen missed important points in his effort to fight back against Mayo in the general standings. He may remember winning here in 2004, but that was 9 years ago. And times change.
Today, no mistakes, but it was a little bit struggling most of the day. Actually, the last 2 tests feels best for the whole weekend. So maybe I'm warming up, you know, after 6 laps riding.
Eero Remes was the flying Finn of E1, taking 2nd position. He may not have got close enough for the win, but he easily controlled the guys behind him with a comfortable 21-second cushion. Antoine Mayo's strategy was simple on day 2. Push hard in the first lap to build the gap, knowing his injuries may affect him later on. They did, and he suffered from his knee injury, but kept a gap of 17.73 seconds over Remes to win the round. In the general standings after 3 Grand Prix, Mayo's lead is now 21 points over Salminen. Siestola is 3rd, Remes now up to 4th. In the Enduro 2 class, as in the day before, Johnny Aubert was fast, but not exactly at the same rhythm as the top 3 ahead. He managed 4th position, 22 seconds off the podium. Pierre-Alexandre René was in contention for 2nd position all day, but lost out in the ultimate final test, beaten by 6.76 seconds by Alex Salvini. After the South American surprise, the Italian from HM Honda confirmed in Europe he can be there for the title. First in Spain, like in round 1, Ivan Cervantes managed a gap of 11.80 seconds and with it closed in on Alex Salvini's general standings lead.
Muy contento porque he logrado mi segunda
I'm very happy because it's my 2nd consecutive win here in Puerto Lumbres and it's incredible. I come back in the fight for the world crown. I don't have any words, it's a massive emotion. To think what I did yesterday and today is incredible. Indeed, a double victory on home soil, and Cervantes now only 9 points off Alex Salvini. René loses 1 position to 3rd. Both Frenchmen René and Aubert are no way out of it yet. Matthias Bellino was much faster than in day 1. Despite a less than perfect physical condition, he managed to maintain a good rhythm. The junior world champion 4th, 1 minute and 10 seconds back. The top 3 were filled by 2-stroke bikes. El Garlioque 3rd. Despite 2 broken ribs, he kept himself on the podium of E3 and consolidated his place in the standings. When the races are more challenging, Joachim Lundgren is better. The Swede is a specialist of deep ruts, and in round 2 he was quicker than on the verge in tests of round 1. Lundgren, second position, runner-up spot. But the winner of the event in E3 was Christoph Nambata, imposing himself with a much more comfortable gap than in South America. He recognised he was tired for the last part of the race, but his gap of 38 seconds over Lundgren suggests otherwise. In the general standings then, the Frenchman has more breathing space, 13 points. The gap does not change, 10 points between Lundgren and Leo is third. Let's now have a look at what happened in the junior class. The battle for the win was tough on both days. In round 1, local Mario Roma was close by 5 seconds. Ambitious, he pushed to the max on the last test and finally crashed, but saved his second position. On day 2, Giacomo Redondi finished second, but it remained a hard weekend for the last year's Youth Cup winner. The Italian lost his lead in the general standings. The new leader is from Australia. Husqvarna's Matthew Phillips pushed to resist Roman's pressure in round 1 and had to do the same against Redondi in round 2, winning by 6.99 seconds. By 5 points, he is now at the top of the general standings, ahead of Redondi.
Pasamos a entregar a continuación.
So then, what's in Ivan Cervantes' head? After unexpected dominance in his home Grand Prix, he is already focused on the next event in Portugal in just 7 days' time. Will he steal the lead of E2 from Salvini? The Enduro World Championship continues.